Welcome to Joycast, and I'm your host, Joy in the Morning. Where here we take the time to get deep into what life has taught us through the ups and downs, the good and the not so good, and how through the power of God we are able to find the joy in it all. So join me as we challenge ourselves to take any situation life has given you and cast some joy on it. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to Joycast, and I'm your host, Joy in the Morning. And I have to say that I had this whole topic planned out, and don't you know that sometimes it's not about our plan, it's about God's plan and what He wants to do throughout our day and in our conversations. So here I am. I have a guest today. He's also my partner in this, and his name is Kavan. And we were just sitting here and we were really struggling today to get this done. And we stopped. And I asked him if there was anything that he wanted to talk about because he was having a hard time. I was having a hard time. And so we just shut everything off and we took a moment, number one, to pray and bring it before the Lord. And then we just started talking. And we said, change a plan. And so you're joining into our conversation right now. And I'm just going to give him time to just say what he wants to. And we're going to go from here.
Yeah,
it's going to be perfect.
I think that is like a really good example. Just like the conversation that we were just having, like right before, we're like, I built this structure, like this almost like script, like of how like this show like should go, or how at least we thought it should go. Yeah. And it wasn't working. It was not working. Just like everything else that was happening this week, just alone this week, even this morning, everything that I'm trying to do, I'm literally getting my own way, and it's not working. Right. And it's almost like the Holy Spirit's just like, just stop and just let me do what I'm doing. Yes. So that's literally what we did. We literally stopped. We prayed in the Spirit, and everything was just flowing, and it's just been going ever since.
Yes. And it's so cool. Holy Spirit showed me that we're bogged down right now by distractions that are happening around me and around you.
Yeah.
And so what do you think about that?
I think that it really is easily to get distracted. It is easy to be distracted. And you said earlier, the battles that we face, most of them are just in our mind. Like the mind really is a battlefield, but it's just like, how do you navigate that? Yes. How do you, like every day, like I wake up, I do the same thing every single day, and I'm okay with that because I'm very structured. I like routine, but the moment something does not go the way I have it in my daily structural routine, I fall apart. And like, so I don't want to keep doing that. Like, what can I do now? It's like I'm facing these things each and every day. Like that, a lot of this, even what I told you before we started recording, just like I haven't even told anybody that. Right. Just about the whole living thing, and it's just like, what am I doing? I don't know. So it is a battlefield for sure, and I'm trying to navigate it.
Well, I love what you said because for me, I'm pushing through today. Over the weekend was the 8th year anniversary of my husband. His passing. He was a police officer, and a lot of people know that he was killed. And so yesterday was the anniversary, and that had me in my feelings. I was thinking about so much. And so today, like I said, we were going to start this. We were going to shoot this. It's my first full episode.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be scripted. We had to just speak from the heart.
Yeah.
And like you said, we're all going to go through things. You go through things. I go through things. And the question, I guess, today is, how do we navigate through it?
I think one way is just talking about it. Literally in the last 5 minutes, I already feel like more clear. Like, because I even driving here, I have to pull over in my car and just like start praying. I'm just like, I'm really trying to focus. I'm like, okay, this is not. So I think one way is just talking about stuff.
Exactly.
And
like I told you, I said, wait a minute. I go, I'm a natural. I can sit and chop it up, discuss anything. And that's what Joycast is all about, is touching those topics that are uncomfortable and they're hard. But today, when I tried to do this episode, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't even read the script. I couldn't even read it.
Yeah.
And so I'm so grateful that we were able to just say, you know what, let's shut it down.
There was definitely a breakthrough for sure. Like there was like just that moment of us just coming together and just like really just praying about it, and there was breakthrough for sure. I feel lighter.
I feel
Like I feel
yes.
like the colors in here, like the light in here is brighter. Like it's just better.
It's just better, and that's that's what it's all about, is helping everyone out there, because I know so many of you are going through things. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that dealt with stuff last week or yesterday. I know so many people are dealing with things too. And if we can help anyone out there, and just like today, maybe for you, maybe you're feeling exactly like me and him are feeling, maybe it's time for you to just shut it down.
Just shut it down. Just move out of your own way.
Just stop.
Like literally.
Just stop.
Because I didn't know that we were going to do it like this. Like I was like, you were like, should we just not do this anymore? And I was like, no, we're on to something. Let's just hold on to it and let's just go with it.
Yeah.
And just let it flow.
Well, and I love what you said in our prayer time. It's not about us. It's not about us. Not. And that's the beauty of pushing through and getting through, when we can step away from ourselves and really say, Lord, take the wheel. No matter what we're going through, when we allow him to take control, man, it's like we don't have to.
No, and I'm a huge weight.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Like all that stuff that we just talked about, like it's a big deal to me, but it doesn't even matter because it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
It always does, just like this.
Yes, and one thing that you said is you brought up the word perfectionist.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be. I want to do things in excellence. But I don't want to be a perfectionist, because this is for me. When I want everything perfect, the smallest thing that does not go in that plan, I'm bummed out.
And everything else could literally go exactly the way you want it to. But that one little thing, you're just, and why we do that? Why do we just hold on to that one little thing?
That little thing.
But look at everything else that just worked out. Like
exactly.
What? I don't know.
And then when we started talking about the podcast, Joycast, we both said we're doing it in excellence, because it's not about me and you, and it's not about how we feel. And that's really the beauty of doing and living our life for the kingdom of God, is that there's times where we don't want to do it and it doesn't feel good. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to revisit old things that happened to us, but to just get out of the way and let the Lord push us through the very power of God.
And he's moving. He's right moving. Now, like even like there was a shift for sure.
Yes,
there was definitely a shift.
Yeah, and I said right before we started, I was like, you know what? I'm raw today. I'm raw, and so you guys are getting it raw for both me and him. He shared with me some things that he's experiencing. I got to share with you about what's going on in my life, and ultimately, if I can say this, it's all about pushing through. Because when we give up, or we get stuck, or we think that there's no hope, that we're not going to make it through, we do get stuck.
Yeah.
And we stay in it. But to push through, and I think that's all about today, this episode, is we just push through.
We just push through. Literally. Like we really, because I was ready to stop. You were ready to stop. And I was like,
let's go get a hamburger.
Yeah, like let's go. Come on, just anything but this.
Anything but this.
But we push through, and this is good. This is some good stuff here.
Yeah. So if I could ask you, just from this experience and what you shared with me, what's the joyful thing in it for you?
Just in this realization, literally right now, even like with the story that I told you, it's gonna all work out.
Yeah.
It's literally gonna all work out. Like that's the just knowing that, because it always works together for my good. It always has, and it always will.
Always. And for me, one of the things that I really did want to share today in this episode is when I woke up this morning, I thought about what's brought me joy through the whole situation the last 8 years. And like I shared with you, it was like my mind, just having my mind, knowing that every day that I get up, I've not lost it. Yeah. I always tell people I could be mindlessly walking the streets right now, And the Lord has got me through, has brought me through. I'm probably better than ever, in the best place of my life right now, where I am able to do Joycast and hopefully bring joy to others. And so, is there anything that you would like to say to them?
Just from like a person who maybe like a viewpoint of someone who doesn't really know God, they can look at you easily, like your news, like when you were on the news the day after, or was it the morning after, or the next day?
The next day.
So you literally looked in the camera and said, "I forgive him." And somebody who doesn't like know God or anything could say, "Are you crazy?"
Yes.
And I'm not, like, me looking at you from my viewpoint, I'm still wondering, are you crazy? Like, and you're sitting here and you have this large, beautiful smile on your face, and it's so genuine. Like, and it really, like, how? I mean, like, I know how, but how? It's just inspirational, and it's just like how I can see all this stuff is just coming together, like, because you have literally moved out of your own way.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, because it takes me back to that very day that Augustine was killed on the 11th. And the following day, which would be today, we did a press conference. And the reporters were all around. It was me and my kids. I have 10 children, over 20 grandkids. We were all just huddled together in shock. Reporters were all around us. And I remember that very moment when one of them came up to me and she said, do you forgive the person that killed your husband? And I looked at her and I said, absolutely, I forgive him.
And you meant every single word.
Of course, how could I?
Like,
my thinking was like, I felt, how could you even ask me that question? It was strange that somebody was asking me that question.
How did you even get to that point? Like, even like, aside from this situation, because that's not something that you could just wake up and just do.
Yeah.
And just like, that's just not something that a way that you just are. Like,
well, to answer your question, there's only one thing, and that's the Lord in me. That literally, it's the Lord.
Well, I know. See, in me, Kovan, I know that, but I like it again. Still, it's good to hear.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that point up, and I have to share with you that the enemy doesn't want us to forgive. He hates forgiveness.
Yeah.
He wants to keep us in that unforgiveness.
And that's what holds so many people back.
Yeah. And I got stuff from that, from going on camera. Mm-hmm. It was my husband that I just lost, but I got people came at me and said, like, how could you forgive him? His life was taken. And I literally one day had to say, like, Lord, am I wrong for forgiving him? Where I knew in my heart that I wasn't, but I questioned myself because so many people questioned me about it. I mean, people would see me in the stores if I went to Safeway or Target or Walmart, and they would ask me about it. And I was like, I forgive him. I just do. I forgive him. And I think what we're going to see in this story and through the podcast is, like I told you yesterday, you can extract so many things, getting through trauma, getting through PTSD, the forgiveness part of it. And that is the most beautiful part of everything that happened, was the forgiveness, because I've been able to go to prison and go visit him. And he has asked me over and over if I could forgive him. And every time I'm just like, I already did. I already forgave you.
And you're saying this with this joyful smile on your face. Like that. That's amazing. That's amazing.
And, I believe that for him, that was the start of his healing journey, is just to know that I had forgiven him. And we have sat at a table at prison. Mm-hmm. And we have held hands and we cried together.
See, and that's how you know God is real, because you just tapping into that just a little bit can go such a long way. Yeah. Because I don't really know about him and his spiritual life and stuff, but you're very much so up there, and he might not be a believer or anything. And you just having that instilled in you just from like what you've been in church for 30 years, so that little bit took him in such a like different direction. He probably just doesn't even look at life the same, just because you said those simple words, I forgive you.
Yeah. And so many people don't think that others are worthy of it. But remember, Jesus forgave us. And so how could we ever like not forgive? And I understand because people always say, well, I could never forgive, my father, my husband, my brother, whatever, for things that have happened. And I know that it's hard for some, but to find freedom and forgiveness, that's why I am where I am today. I firmly believe that because I was able to forgive him. I've been able to move and be free in it and teach others. And that's one of the things that I shared with the enemy, believe it or not, when I went to pack his things up. And I shared with the enemy that I hated him for what he had done to Augustine, what he had done to Robert, to my grandchildren, to my children, to me. And I said, and for the rest of my life that I was going to share the love of Jesus and talk to people about forgiveness.
Because that's what it's about. And the end of this is forgiveness, because what the enemy meant for good, God turned around.
Oh my God.
For what the enemy meant for harm, God turned around for good.
He turned it around. And so I love this. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful. I prayed. I have to share this. Like, I prayed for someone to come and just help me with this. And when I shared it with you, it's like you immediately caught the vision. And I needed that. I needed somebody who has the compassion, who has the empathy, not only your tech skills, but I needed somebody who could understand and cared enough to help me with the podcast. And so I'm so grateful for you.
Yeah, I'm glad you called. And when we first had that conversation a couple months ago, I was like, in my head, like, of course I would do anything to help this lady. Like, yeah. But in my head, I'm like, what? After we got off the phone, I'm like, what did I just do? I don't know nothing about no podcast. I don't know nothing about no video, audio. I don't know. But 2 months later, we are here. We're here.
First episode.
Like,
I'm so grateful. We pushed through.
We did it.
This was our first episode, pushing through. We covered forgiveness. And that's what we're all about is, teaching, showing people, being that example for you out there. If you're listening, that no matter what you're going through, it's the very power of God that will get you through.
And forgiveness equals freedom.
Yes.
Forgiveness really, even forgiveness within yourself.
Yes.
Like, and
goodness.
that's a big one.
Oh, we're going to talk about that. I love that
forgiveness
topic.
Equals freedom. For real.
It really does. And it gives you the freedom to move and to live, that, you're not stuck in bitterness and in hate. And I'll tell you what, man, I love my life. It's been a tough week for me, and I'm super excited about Joycast. And for the listeners out there, I would ask that you would just stay tuned. A lot of topics that we're going to be covering. It's not always going to be sad. There's going to be days where we're just going to laugh and have a great time. But I also know that sometimes people need to just be allowed to feel and not feel bad about how they feel. Like we talked about that today. I feel like I'm empty before we did this.
Yeah.
I felt like I was running on empty.
Me too.
But
Definitely.
it's okay if you're feeling any certain way. It's all right. I just want to really drill that in, is that it's okay for you to feel bad. And I love all of you, even though I can't see you. I love you guys. I thank you for tuning in. We're going to meet here every Monday. And so just tap in. I'll share our topics. We're going to have some guests coming up. We have a whole lineup. So is there anything else you would like to add?
I'm going to take your role and I'm going to ask you something.
Okay.
What is one thing I know my answer, but what out of this whole experience right now, what, even just the things that we talked about, what's the joyful part of it? What brought you joy?
What brought me joy?
Out of all of this?
Well, what brought me joy is the way I feel right now. Okay. Because I don't feel bogged down.
Yeah, the breakthrough. I would have to agree. That's mine. I'm going to keep it simple. That's mine too.
Minus 2 is the breakthrough. And that we just got through it. We got through our first episode. Yeah. And I know that the more that we do this, it's going to just come seamless. And we get this platform to tell people about Jesus and the love of Jesus.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Great job.
Have a great